T-Roy and Von killed that nigga. No matter what the fuck else, and look, I might be saying it in a harsh way, but I'm no way in no form of fashion trying to be disrespectful to blood. Rest in peace to Big Gang. Niggas was backdooring. That's why I'm speaking out on the shit. I don't know nothing. She know what's up. They know that it's been some shit going on for years.
And Chief was cool. I was T-Roy killed Chief Keef cousin though.
We can't even get to all the main logistics of it, but we just gonna say niggas is followers. T-Roy and Von.
Ever notice what happened when King Von passed away? One of the biggest names to rise out of Chicago, one of the rawest storytellers the streets ever heard. Yet Chief Keef said absolutely nothing. No post, no story, no tweet, not even a quiet like on somebody else's tribute. Just straight silence. And that kind of silence hits different when you really think about it. King Von wasn't some random rapper floating around the internet. This was a major voice from the city, a guy whose music had the streets locked in. When something that big happens, people usually speak up. They show love, drop a message, or at least acknowledge the moment. But from Chief Keef, nothing at all. Total radio silence, like the line went dead.
The singer known as Blood Money was one of 9 people shot during a violent night across the...
Remember where all this comes from. Chicago, the place that gave the world drill music. These artists came up around the same neighborhoods, the same corners, the same heavy stories. They rapped about the same blocks and the same struggles, moving through a city where reputation and loyalty mean everything. When someone from that circle falls, especially someone as big as Von had become, the city usually reacts loud and clear. And that's exactly what happened with everybody else. Lil Durk posted, Polo G posted, G Herbo spoke on it. Even Chance the Rapper showed respect. Artists who barely knew Von still paused to acknowledge the moment. The whole hip-hop scene took a second to recognize what was lost. But Chief Keef, the pioneer of drill music, the man who helped put Chicago rap on the global map before most of these names even had deals, stayed quiet like a graveyard at 3 a.m. And once people started asking why, things got even more interesting. When you start hearing what the streets have been whispering about for years, and then you catch that one lyric that people swear put everything on record, you start to understand why Sosa stayed completely quiet while the rest of the world was mourning.
He just signed a record contract, but now local rap star is dead, gunned down in Englewood.
The singer known as Blood Money was one of 9 people shot during a violent night across the...
Suddenly, that silence doesn't feel random anymore. It starts to look calculated, because this situation goes way deeper than rap competition. This isn't about industry politics, label problems, or social media arguments. According to what people in the streets have been saying for a long time, this story circles around real bloodshed. We're talking about a case that was never solved, rumors that refused to disappear, and a single bar in a song that many listeners believe hinted at something serious. And once people started connecting those dots, the conversation got real heavy. Some fans started replaying old tracks, breaking down lyrics line by line, trying to figure out if that bar meant more than it sounded like on the surface. Whether that theory is true or not, the talk around it has been loud for years. But to really understand how Chief Keef, King Von, and all these rumors ended up tangled together, you can't start in 2020 when Von passed away.
King Yella. Why is King Yella going online talking about the situation to do with King Von backdooring Chief Keef's cousin? We all know the reality, Durk backdooring.
You have to rewind way back before that. Back when drill music was still gritty, still underground, and still shaking the streets. Back when Chief Keef, born Keef Cozart and raised in Chicago's Englewood neighborhood on the south side, was just a teenager turning the entire rap world upside down. By the time he was only 17, this kid had already shifted the direction of hip-hop in a way nobody could ignore. I Don't Like wasn't just another rap track playing in the background. That record shook the whole culture. The sound was raw, the energy was aggressive, and suddenly the entire rap scene started shifting because of it. Producers down in Atlanta were studying that sound closely. Labels in New York were rushing to sign anything that even felt similar. And when Kanye West jumped on the remix, that's when everybody knew this wave was serious.
That should be the conversation, not nothing to do with no Chief Keef. They're always trying to distract people, focusing on Little Durk being responsible for backdooring King Von. A whole heap of evidence to prove Little Durk was really responsible backdooring King Von.
But here's something a lot of people forget when they talk about Chief Keef's rise to fame. His story wasn't just about one artist blowing up alone. Behind Keef was a tight crew, a real circle that had been there long before the camera showed up. Glow Gang, GBE, Glory Boy Entertainment. These weren't random names put together by a label to make things look organized. These were real people from real Chicago blocks, guys Keef had known for years, people he grew up around. In that environment, loyalty wasn't just something you talked about in interviews. It was something serious, something tied to survival. When you came up with somebody from the same neighborhood, that bond carried real weight. And right in the middle of that circle was a man named Mario Hess. That name might not ring bells for everybody, but most fans know him by his rap name, Blood Money. And Blood Money wasn't just another artist hanging around the crew hoping to get a feature. This was Chief Keef's actual cousin, real family. That kind of connection goes way deeper than music deals and industry friendships. In the streets, a cousin often means the person who stood beside you before anything changed, before the fame, before the money, before the attention from the whole rap world. Blood Money was right there during those early drill days, moving through Chicago's music scene alongside Keef while that gritty new sound was starting to explode.
And now all of a sudden, seeing the whole situation of Chief Keef talking about his cousin being backdoored by King Von, and on top of that, Chief Keef was in a music video on a song with NBA Youngboy. What about King Von being backdoored by Lil Durk, and Lil Durk releasing Back in Blood same day of Von's death? Also rapping Back in Blood on an IG Live when Von got shot.
During one of the wildest and most intense moments Chicago had seen, Chief Keef and Blood Money linked up on a track called Rehab. And if you go back and really listen to that record, you can hear the chemistry instantly. It didn't sound like some industry feature thrown together for attention. It sounded natural, real family energy on the track. This wasn't a business move. This was family supporting family the way it was meant to be done. Blood Money wasn't just around for the music either. He had deep ties in the streets. He was connected to Front Street, right in the Inglewood area, that played a huge role in shaping Chief Keef's whole story. And in Chicago, where someone comes from matters a lot. Your block can decide your friends, your rivals, and the entire network of people around you. That connection to Front Street influenced how Blood Money moved and who he was around every day. Then everything changed in April 2014, right in the middle of the drill movement exploding across the world. When Chicago music had everyone watching, Blood Money was shot and killed in the Inglewood area. Just like that. One moment he's here, the next he's gone.
It's like the reality of what's important to really focus on. These guys are always playing upon distractions to distract you from what you should really be asking about.
For Chief Keef, this wasn't just losing someone in the music circle. This was his cousin, his real family. And what made the situation even heavier was what happened after. The case was never publicly solved. No confirmed shooter announced. No major arrest that closed the case. No courtroom answers. For a grieving family, that kind of uncertainty cuts deep, especially for someone who grew up in a place where many people feel the system rarely delivers clear justice. When a loss like that never gets real answers, it doesn't just fade away, it lingers. It sits in people's minds, growing heavier over time until it turns into something bigger than the moment itself. And this is where the story takes a turn that the mainstream world never fully paid attention to, because Chicago street politics work differently than what outsiders usually imagine. When something serious happens in that city, especially involving someone with strong connections like Blood Money, people in the neighborhood start forming their own ideas about what happened. The official investigation might drag on for years with no clear outcome, but the streets talk fast.
Now, that's why this gets complicated. So you have someone from O Block J Hood, who literally accuses King Von and T-Roy of killing Chief Keef's cousin, Blood Money.
There's a whole underground network of whispers, conversations, and rumors moving from block to block. People share what they heard, what someone told them, what somebody claims they saw. It's like a parallel system of information that runs completely separate from police reports and courtrooms. And right after Blood Money was killed, those whispers started moving. At first, it was quiet talk, small conversations between people close to the situation. But as the years went by, the rumors got louder. The name that kept popping up in those conversations was O Block. For anyone not familiar, O Block, short for Parkway Gardens, is a housing complex on Chicago's South Side near 64th and King Drive. During the peak of the drill era, that area had a serious reputation. The environment was known for both intense loyalty and intense conflict. And that's important because O Block was also where King Von built his name. That was his home territory, the place that shaped his stories, his music, and the way he carried himself. It was his foundation. So once people started connecting O Block to the rumors around Blood Money's death, some circles began drawing their own conclusions. In certain conversations, that connection slowly started pointing attention toward Von's side of the city. But here's where the situation gets really complicated, and I'm gonna keep it completely real with you. Front Street and O Block weren't always clear-cut enemies in the way people outside Chicago might assume. This wasn't just two rival groups locked in a simple battle. The street map in Chicago is way more layered than that. Different sets, different alliances, different histories.
So when you think about everything you keep hearing, oh, they robbed Keef multiple times. They killed his cousin. I can see why Keef probably doesn't have that like super sympathy or like, oh nah, fuck young boy shit, because you know Von died. He probably just doesn't give a fuck, respectfully.
Some connections overlap, while others suddenly explode into conflict. To outsiders, it might look straightforward, but inside the city, the relationships can be complicated and constantly shifting. And sometimes the most dangerous problems aren't the obvious rivalries everyone talks about. The real tension can come from internal cracks, situations where people who are supposed to be on the same side start moving differently, thinking differently, and slowly drifting into serious conflict. People who were close to the streets during 2014 have said that Blood Money's death may have come out of that kind of tension. Not some random situation, not a simple outside attack, but something deeper, tied to personal relationships and the complicated politics moving through Chicago's South Side at the time. As those conversations kept happening over the years, one name slowly started appearing more often in certain discussions: King Von. His name kept coming up in whispers, in speculation, in quiet street talk that refused to disappear. Now let me be clear about something important. There has never been any public police report that named Von as a suspect in Blood Money's death. There was no trial, no official charges, and no confirmed legal case connecting him to what happened. On the official record, the case is still unsolved, but the streets often form their own opinions long before anything ever shows up in court. And if the theory some people believed was true, if those close to Blood Money really felt they knew what happened, then that silence from Chief Keef years later suddenly starts to look very different. If that theory was true, then it would mean Chief Keef believed he already knew what happened to his cousin. And if that's the case, he may have been carrying that belief quietly for years. No public statements, no interviews, no online arguments, just silence while the rumors kept circulating.
And that's exactly what makes the next part of this story explode all over the internet. Because King Von was many things at once. He had a reputation in the streets, a powerful personality, and one of the most gripping storytelling styles in modern rap. When Von told a story in a song, it didn't feel like entertainment. It felt like a movie playing inside your head from the very first bar. What made him stand out even more was how real his lyrics sounded. He didn't build some fake persona or exaggerated character. His whole brand was built around real situations, real names, and real consequences. That raw honesty is exactly why so many fans were locked into his music. So when Von released the track Evil Twin with Lil Durk, listeners started paying very close attention to the lyrics, and one specific line suddenly had people stopping the song and replaying it over and over again. Von raps, "My homie think I killed his cousin." Well, oh well. Read that slowly for a second. Let each word sink in. "My homie think I killed his cousin." Well, oh well. That line is what sparked a storm of debate online, not just because it mentioned someone believing he harmed their cousin, but because of how calm the response sounds. That casual, "well, oh well," had people arguing everywhere, wondering what exactly Von meant when he said it. And in that moment, Von basically sounds like someone who isn't losing any sleep over the accusation. That's exactly why the internet started going wild once fans connected that lyric to Chicago drill history and the unsolved death of Blood Money. Suddenly,
People everywhere went into full detective mode. Forums lit up, comment sections exploded, and fans started replaying the song again and again, trying to break down every word. Because to a lot of listeners, the pieces seemed to line up a little too perfectly. King Von had a reputation for putting real-life situations straight into his music. He wasn't known for hiding behind vague metaphors or complicated wordplay. His style was direct, almost like he was telling stories straight from real events happening around him. So when people heard the line, "My homie think I killed his cousin," well, oh well, it didn't sound like a random filler bar written just to match the beat. To many fans, it sounded like something personal, like a real conversation that had already happened behind the scenes, almost like Von was referencing a real accusation that someone in his circle had made toward him, someone close enough to still be called a homie, but close enough to carry serious tension at the same time. And when people started asking who that homie could possibly be, the internet quickly began connecting dots between Von's world and Chief Keef's circle. Once those dots started lining up, the discussion only got louder. What really pushed the conversation even further was something else about the lyric. Von never actually denies anything in that line. He doesn't say he didn't do it. He doesn't argue against the accusation. There's no explanation, no defense, no frustration about being blamed. Just that calm, almost careless response. Well, oh well. He simply acknowledges that the accusation exists and then brushes right past it like it doesn't bother him at all. That's what makes the line hit so differently. In street rap, sometimes what an artist doesn't say can be louder than what they do say. That calm response, well, oh well, comes off incredibly nonchalant, almost like someone who already made peace with a situation long ago. To some listeners, it didn't sound like a person rushing to clear their name. It sounded more like someone who had already accepted the tension that came with the accusation.
But let's be clear about something important here. This isn't about accusing someone who can't defend themselves. That wouldn't be fair. King Von is no longer here to explain what he meant in that lyric, and that reality matters. That line could easily be about a completely different situation. Von lived a complicated life with complicated relationships, and he dealt with plenty of conflicts along the way. There's no official confirmation tying that lyric to any specific event. Still, when people stack all the pieces together, the rumors that have been floating around for years, the history between Front Street and O Block, the unsolved death of Blood Money, that lyric suddenly starts to feel a lot heavier to many listeners. For some fans, it doesn't sound like a coincidence at all. To them, it almost feels like a quiet acknowledgement hidden inside a song, a line delivered casually into a microphone by someone who understood exactly how people would hear it. Then came November 6, 2020, Atlanta, Georgia, early morning outside a nightclub. An altercation breaks out, tensions explode, and gunfire erupts. King Von is struck multiple times during the chaos. He's rushed to the hospital, but doctors can't save him. At just 26 years old, his life was cut short. The shock across the rap world was immediate. Fans, artists, and the entire hip-hop community reacted instantly because Von's career felt like it was only getting bigger and bigger. King Von's talent felt undeniable. His storytelling, his presence, his relentless work ethic, it all pointed towards something huge on the horizon. Every new song sounded sharper. Every project pulled in more fans, and it felt like he was just getting started. Then, in one instant, all of that momentum disappeared. Just like that, Lil Durk, who many people saw as Von's closest ally and brother in the industry, was clearly devastated. When the news broke, you could see the pain written across his face, and as time went on, you could hear that grief in the music he released afterward. The loss didn't just affect his career, it seemed to change him as a person. Chicago felt it too. The hip-hop community across the country reacted immediately. Tributes poured in from everywhere. Artists, fans, producers, people who had never even met Von still felt the impact and wanted to show respect. That moment turned into something much bigger than one artist's passing. It became a shared moment of grief across the culture. But in the middle of all those tributes and messages, one silence stood out more than anything else. Chief Keef, the founder of G-Lo Gang, a pioneer of drill music, and someone whose influence shaped nearly every Chicago rapper that came after him, didn't post anything. No tribute, no message,
No public acknowledgement at all. Not a single word. Now, to be fair, there are other explanations people bring up, and it's important to look at those too. By 2020, Keef had already distanced himself from the chaos that used to surround Chicago's street politics. He had been living in California for years, far from the environment that shaped his early career. He'd been focused on music, business, and building a different kind of future. Some people argue that Chief Keef just isn't very active on social media like that. And to be fair, there's some truth there. Keef has never really been the type of artist who jumps online to publicly display every emotion or personal moment. But here's the detail that makes people pause. Chief Keef has spoken up about other losses before. He has acknowledged other artists and people from Chicago when they passed away. He has shown respect publicly in certain situations. That's why the silence around King Von stands out so strongly to many observers.
When someone stays quiet about one specific person while speaking about others, that silence starts to feel intentional. It feels like it carries a reason behind it. And this is where the long-running rumors start to reappear in the conversation. Some people who follow the Chicago scene closely believe Keef may have already formed his own opinion about what happened to his cousin, Blood Money, back in 2014. If someone truly believed they knew who was responsible for losing a family member, their reaction years later might look very different from everyone else's. In that situation, silence wouldn't necessarily mean absence. It could simply mean a deliberate decision not to say anything at all. That idea isn't about internet drama. It's about basic human emotion. When people lose someone close to them, especially family, the feelings involved can be complicated and deeply personal. Now let's slow everything down and lay out the timeline clearly so the full picture makes sense. Exhibit A, the killing. Blood Money, whose real name was Mario Hess, was Chief Keef's cousin and part of the GLO gang circle. In April 2014, he was shot and killed in Chicago's Inglewood area. The case was never publicly solved. No confirmed shooter, no widely reported arrest, no courtroom verdict that closed the chapter. Just an unanswered tragedy that left a lot of questions behind in the years that followed. Over time, persistent rumors inside Chicago's drill community started pointing toward O-Block, King Von's home territory, in connection with the circumstances surrounding that shooting. These weren't just random internet accusations popping up out of nowhere. According to people familiar with the scene, the talk came from individuals who understood the neighborhood dynamics, the alliances, and the street geography that shaped everything happening in that era. Those rumors suggested possible O-Block involvement in the death of someone connected to Front Street. And that's where the conversation kept circling back to King Von, an artist known for referencing real-life experiences in his music. Then there's the lyric that keeps getting brought up again and again. On the song Evil Twin, Von raps, "My homie think I killed his cousin. Well, oh well." It's the tone of that line that caught people's attention. That calm, well, oh well, doesn't sound like someone desperately defending themselves against an accusation. Instead, it sounds more like someone acknowledging that the accusation exists and choosing not to explain it. Then there's the wording itself, "my homie" and "his cousin." That phrasing feels personal, almost like it's referencing a real relationship rather than some random story used for rhyme. Fast forward to November 2020, when King Von tragically loses his life. Tributes flood the internet from artists across the culture, but Chief Keef, who has publicly acknowledged other losses before, remains completely silent about Von. No tribute, no message, nothing at all. And in a culture where silence can sometimes carry meaning of its own, that specific silence stood out to many people watching from the outside. Now, when you place those pieces side by side, it creates a narrative that people have debated for years. Still, it's important to remember that none of these elements alone prove anything definitively. They're pieces of a conversation, not confirmed conclusions. On their own, each piece might not prove much, but when people line them up as a timeline, as a pattern of moments connected over years, it starts forming a narrative that many observers say feels unsettlingly consistent.
What makes it even more interesting is that people in the streets were talking about these connections long before the internet ever caught on. Those conversations were already happening quietly in Chicago long before fans online started breaking down lyrics and timelines. And the fact that this theory hasn't faded away over time, but actually keeps resurfacing, says a lot about how strongly some people still believe there's more to the story.
But let's zoom out for a second, because this situation represents something bigger than just music gossip or internet debates. What it really shows is the human cost of violence that never gets fully resolved. Blood Money lost his life in 2014, and the case never reached a clear public conclusion. No confirmed resolution, no courtroom answers, nothing that gave people a sense of closure. In communities where trust in law enforcement has often been complicated, many situations like this end up lingering in the background. Questions remain unanswered, rumors spread, and the pain of losing someone close doesn't simply disappear. If the theory many people believe were true, that would mean Chief Keef spent years carrying the weight of losing his cousin without any official resolution. Years of wondering what really happened, or believing he already knew, but having no formal justice through the system. That kind of situation can sit with someone for a long time. Imagine watching the person some people believe was involved go on to become a major star in the same music scene you helped build. Moments like that can create emotions that never fully settle. Feelings like grief, frustration, and unanswered questions don't just fade quietly over time. They linger and shape how people move forward. Moments like that can shape how someone moves through life. It can affect who they trust, what they're willing to say publicly, and what they decide to keep locked deep inside. Some things never get spoken out loud. They just sit there in silence. And King Von, whatever the real truth behind everything may have been, took his side of the story with him. The only thing left behind is that one lyric that people keep replaying over and over again. He placed a single line in a song that has now become one of the most analyzed bars in Chicago drill history. And the wild part? He's no longer here to explain what he meant by it. That mystery is permanent now. There will never be a future interview where Von sits down and clears it up. There won't be a moment where he and Chief Keef publicly talk it through or explain the tension people believe existed. Whatever feelings, accusations, or silent understandings may have existed between them became frozen in time on November 6, 2020. And underneath all the debate, all the theories, and all the internet discussions, there's a deeper tragedy hiding in plain sight. Two incredibly talented artists from the same city, two voices shaped by the same streets, the same culture, the same environment filled with loyalty, loss, and pressure. Yet whatever story existed between them ended before it was ever fully spoken out loud. Drill music has always worked like a kind of record of life on Chicago's South Side. The songs capture stories that never show up in official reports. They reflect moments the news might overlook and situations that never reach a courtroom. And sometimes, just sometimes, a single bar in a song can spark years of questions. My homie think I killed his cousin. Well, oh well. That line is now part of hip-hop history, and the question behind it still lingers today. So let's bring everything back to the facts and break down what we actually know for sure. Blood Money, Mario Hess, was Chief Keef's cousin, and he was killed in Chicago's Inglewood area in April 2014. That moment in 2014 changed everything for the people closest to him. Blood Money wasn't just another name connected to the drill scene. He was family to Chief Keef, someone who had been around long before the fame, before the record deals, before millions of fans were watching every move. When Mario Hess lost his life in Inglewood, it wasn't just a headline. For the people around him, it was a personal loss that left serious questions behind. And the hardest part was that those questions never received a clear public answer. The case remained open with no widely reported resolution, no public trial, no official explanation that tied the entire story together. For many people in the community, that kind of uncertainty can feel like a wound that never fully heals. And when something like that happens, conversations don't stop. They move through neighborhoods, through friend groups, through music, through stories people tell each other late at night. Rumors, theories, suspicions, all of it continues circulating long after the headlines disappear. Over time, those whispers became part of the background of Chicago drill culture. People who followed the scene closely knew the history. They knew the names, the blocks, the connections between different circles in the city. Then, years later, when King Von rose to massive fame, fans began digging deeper into everything surrounding that era. His music told vivid stories about the streets, and listeners often tried to decode the meaning behind certain lines. That's why lyrics like, "My homie think I killed his cousin," well, "Oh well," sparked so much discussion online. For many fans, it sounded like a line pulled straight from real life. And because of the earlier rumors surrounding Blood Money's death, people quickly started connecting timelines and drawing their own conclusions. But it's important to remember something here. Rumors in the streets and speculation on the internet are not the same as confirmed facts. The official case surrounding Blood Money's death has never publicly identified a responsible person, and no court ruling ever settled the situation. What remains today is a mix of history, music, unanswered questions, and the lasting impact of two major figures from Chicago's drill movement, whose stories became connected in ways people are still debating years later. And this is where the story shifts from rumor to legacy. Because whether people believe the theories or completely reject them, one thing is undeniable. Both Chief Keef and King Von left enormous marks on the drill movement. Keef kicked the door open first. When he exploded onto the scene as a teenager, the entire rap industry had to adjust to the sound coming out of Chicago. The energy was different, the beats were darker, and the stories felt raw in a way that mainstream hip-hop hadn't heard before. Songs like "I Don't Like" didn't just become hits, they became blueprints. Suddenly, artists across the country were experimenting with the same aggressive flows and heavy production. The ripple effect of that moment is still felt in rap today. Years later, King Von stepped into that same world with a completely different strength. Where Keef changed the sound, Von mastered the storytelling. His songs played out like short films, packed with characters, tension, and detailed scenes that pulled listeners straight into the narrative.
That ability made him stand out fast. Fans didn't just listen to Von's music, they studied it. They replayed lyrics, debated meanings, and tried to piece together the real-life inspiration behind the stories he told. And that's exactly why certain lines became so powerful. When an artist builds a reputation for speaking on real experiences, every lyric starts carrying extra weight. Every bar gets examined closely. So when people revisit that Evil Twin lyric today, they're not just hearing a catchy line, they're hearing a sentence that sits right in the middle of years of history, rumors, and unresolved questions. But at the same time, the full truth behind those connections may never be known. Some stories from the streets never reach a courtroom, never reach official records, and never receive a final explanation. What we're left with instead is a complicated chapter in drill history, one that mixes music, loyalty, loss, and unanswered questions. Two major artists, one city that shaped them both, and a timeline that fans are still trying to understand years later. The case surrounding Blood Money's death was never publicly solved. No final answer, no official conclusion that closed the chapter. Years later, King Von released the line, "My homie think I killed his cousin. Well, oh well," on the track Evil Twin. And when Von tragically lost his life in November 2020, Chief Keef made no public statement about it at all. Those are the facts that people keep coming back to. What has never been officially confirmed is something very important. There has never been a public ruling that King Von was responsible for Blood Money's death. There has never been confirmation that the lyric was specifically aimed at Chief Keef, and there has never been proof that Keef's silence had anything directly to do with that situation. But here's the thought that keeps people thinking long after the video ends. Chief Keef is widely known as one of the most culturally aware and calculated figures to come out of Chicago's drill movement. Throughout his career, he's shown that he moves carefully and deliberately. When he speaks, it's intentional. And when he chooses silence, many people believe that silence carries meaning too. At the same time, King Von built his entire reputation around putting pieces of real life into his music. He didn't break down every lyric in interviews. Instead, he often placed those moments directly inside his songs and let listeners interpret the meaning themselves. That's part of what made drill music so gripping. The stories feel real, the emotions feel raw, and sometimes the truth sits somewhere between the lines. So whether you believe the theory or think it's just fans connecting dots that were never meant to connect, the conversation itself says a lot about the history of Chicago drill and the complicated stories behind the music. Now I want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Do you think that Von lyric was about Chief Keef? Do you think Keef's silence meant something deeper? Or do you think this is just one of those mysteries that fans will debate forever? If you made it this far, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who follows drill history. And don't forget to comment your opinion below, because these conversations get real interesting. Stay sharp, stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.